comes to your mind?
It's a good question.
Leading?
A few different words, actually. Probably responsibility, integrity, vision.
Someone that you aspire to want to be like.
We often have this idea that leaders are the people who are just like dictators, and they want to stop us from doing things and make us force us, put us into place, and make us be robots.
Well, for me, leadership doesn't come from above. It comes from energies that are pushing you up.
Inspire confidence in someone to get something done.
You know, it's not just about you, it's about them, the team.
Bottom line is that the whole can be greater than the sum of the parts.
It's important for generations coming through to have people ahead of them that aren't saying,
It's someone who's willing to fight.
I think walking the talk rather than just saying things that you don't actually do.
I don't know what proportion of the population are cut out to be leaders, but it's probably not that many.
You see, I believe everyone can. I believe everyone can.
I think a leadership title, that doesn't mean much without the right qualities.
Traditionally, when we think of leader, we think of like a person of power or influence. But even at uni, you see people in tutorials, they're leading conversation or ideas.
I think that someone with an eye to humanity's problems is really admirable.
Be part of the motion of humanity.
Standing up, being counted, you need brave people. And also it's exciting to be someone who tries to make a difference.
Watching people doing great things and you just feel inspired and want to talk to them and learn from them and do the same or even better things.
I think real leadership is about changing people's lives for the better.
So welcome back after this short video clip. And I think this was really a good explanation. Not only an explanation, it gives you in a very short time different kind of feelings, of insights. And this is what we also do in an academic environment, that we want to gather information from different kind of aspects. And usually we make a quantitative with questionnaires, and that we ask, for example, a department, a whole organization, what they think about a certain topic. Then we gather information and can work on this set of data. And what we did, we saw in this video different persons answering the questions what they think is leadership. And as you can saw, there were different explanations for one term. And this is what it makes really difficult to talk about what is leadership. Why is it so important? And I'm not at the end level of leadership. Of course not. I'm learning day by day. What I can do now is I can bring you some academical background and mix it with my practical knowledge from my own experience and from a lot of other coachings. And therefore, we're talking about what is leadership. And as you can see, there are in this video, we heard a lot of feelings, communication, talking to people and be there for them. And this is one of the main concepts of leadership, that you're really working with people and also for people. So this is really an important point. When you want to be a leader, you're working from 9 to 5 and longer with people and not on a subject itself. So one of the first chapters will be leadership, an academical and practical background. So I started in the last live session with these slides, and we had a discussion because someone in the chat asks me, is this not a little bit too political? And it was a good question, because I have here some leaders mentioned. So who is a great leader in your opinion? And stop your thinking process and just think with this first question. Who is a great leader in your opinion? What do you think? And then we go through the next questions. So let me see the check. How are you all? Augusta. Thanks for the question. I'm really well. I hope you can following along also with your internet connection in the chat. If there is any question, just let me know. So what is a great leader? Nice to have a free class. Yes, thanks to the platform also that they're organizing here a lot of different subjects and live sessions. So what is a great leader, in your opinion, could be that he or she is always there when you have a problem. He or she delivers and work with you on solutions so that you are prepared to work on them. They deliver inside views. They give you also some help to work on that. All this will be, for example, good leadership. What makes someone a leader? And is a dictator also a leader? Would you say that Kim Jong-un in North Korea is a leader because he's a dictator? And this was one of the critical questions last time, that it will be too political. But it isn't. It's just a question, what does it make to be a leader? When you were in the military service, then one of the points what you learn at the very first is all the degrees what you have in the military. So that means if you started with your service, you are maybe at the really first step on the ladder, and then you're climbing up the hierarchy ladder. And in the field, in the battlefield, if your leader, if your supervisor has to be replaced because he got killed, etc., then the next will be the leader automatically according to the rank. And this is something what it makes a leader. But how is it in the organization? Is it in the organization that someone who has the most years in the department will be automatically the leader? Is it the most suitable? But what means suitable? Is it the person who can talk, is really educated in communication, talk really good? What is it? What do you think? And think about how leaders are selected in your environment, in your department. These are all things what makes a culture. Culture is a topic by itself, but I would like to stress here once more out that all of the selection process, all of these points are really important to see how an organization is working or not. And I have here mentioned a few of the leaders what I gathered from Wikipedia, etc., which is connected to leaders. So, and one of the first is Mahatma Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, Winston Churchill, Martin Luther King, Lincoln, Mother Teresa, Napoleon Bonaparte, George Washington, Dalai Lama, Julius Caesar, Frank Roosevelt, Alexander the Great, and so on. And even Bill Gates is here on this slide. So that means we have here a few people which gathered success in a way, because all of them are known very well from the society. Often the people are also known for their success, but also known for the money they made, maybe also some critical decisions what they made, some where you can really discuss about the ethicalness, if it was really in the way that helped people or not. Maybe they sacrifice a lot, sacrificing also their own lives to have a good outcome and common purpose. So, see, so sorry, short distraction. Then leaders could be also in your department. When you see how long is a leader in a department, are they often changed the leader? Why are they often changed? Do they have some programs where you can be in a junior level and in senior level, then department, etc., and with a C level? How is the program? Are there only external leaders? Are there internal leaders? And these explains a lot of things for the culture, and there's no good or right or false or wrong. This is always depends on the department, also on the structure of the company, on the culture. You can't say, for example, in the car manufacturing business, is it the same as in the IT industry, in the meat processing industry, in a non-profit organization? There is no one right scheme for all of them. But what we can discuss it, how is it done in a different organization, and you can reflect it by yourself. Was it a good implementation? Could it be better, and why could it be better? And how would you change it? Because this is the first step in a leadership position, that you be really active. This is what you do as a leader. On this slide, I would like to talk with you about that we have leaders in nearly every segment of our life. Of course, in the business environment, but also in some religious context, we have leaders because we see some persons as our leaders because they have a lot of knowledge. They can talk to a right audience, broad and team leader. We have a sports coach, we have someone who is responsible for the money, etc. And therefore, also in sports, we have some leaders. In the political, because when we give someone a vote, then of course, because this person has convinced us to change something in the country, in the community, etc. And therefore, also in the political area, we have leaders, good and bad leaders. Of course, in social band, classes, groups, communities, church, military, school, gangs, market, everywhere. Think about your free time, is your leisure time, what do you do? Also there, you will have some leaders, some hidden leaders, because you recognize those people when you see, okay, when this person says something, everyone is listening. Everyone says, okay, but person X says so why shouldn't we do that according to his knowledge? Because he knows exactly what to do. And this is where leaders also were built. So with this slide, I would like to focus and stress out that leaders are nearly everywhere in every certain aspect of our life. So what do you mean by leadership? So first we talked about what is a good leader. Now we're talking about what do we mean by leadership? What is leadership? And leadership is defined in very different ways. Anna asked, could we ask any question? Just hit the keyboard and your smartphone. Give typing in any question you want. I will try to answer all of the questions as far as it is related to the topic of the systemic leadership. Should we read or can we just ask? Just ask, Anna. Never mind typing in, also with some typing errors, doesn't matter. What is the role of a systemic leader in an organization? Very good question. I would answer this question in that way that is the same as a normal leader. The systemic leadership and leader is, in my opinion, a person who applied to the systemic attitude. And what a systemic attitude is, we will come maybe in the second part today or even tomorrow, that we are talking about what is systemic leadership and why can we combine those two worlds together so that we have a systemic leader. So the role of a leader in a company is very different. It occurs on the organization. But one example could be that the leader is also a manager and senior manager, which is there for you in all of the factual knowledge, but also is for the organization, for the team structure, for all of the things which is going on in the daily business, responsible, and therefore it's the interface for you and for them, for the organization, for the people, for the business. So, what is leading when we asked this question? How is it done? How to be successful and how does it fail? So often I get the question, why should we talk about that something is failing? Shouldn't we have the focus on the positive side? Because this is typically also systemic, like just focusing on the positive part. But when we ask us the question, how does certain things fail, gives us good information about what we can do to prevent this situation. And preventing means when we know that we do certain steps, then it will fail. And therefore, this question is absolutely legitimate. How does it fail? For an example, if we don't communicate often, widely, daily. And Simon Sinek, we see this person also later on. I really like all of the books of Simon Sinek, and he can explain things so very well. And he made a good metaphor. He says, how often do you brush your teeth? And normally you will answer 2, 1, 3 times a day. And then you see, you do it on a daily basis. How often do you train your leadership and communication style? Maybe once or two in a year when you go to some training, to some coaching, etc. You're reflecting. So practicing and doing leadership work can't be done once a year. And therefore, you have to make here on relationships. So how to be successful is to do it on a daily basis as you brush your teeth, is a daily routine, and then it can be done in the right way. Leading means doing the work as a leader on a daily basis. And I like this metaphor, really, really like it. So this is what do we mean by leadership? In my point of view, it's more like asking the question, how do we do it in the right way? So are there any questions to this slide or topic in general? So we discussed leadership and leading. How does systemic leadership differ from traditional leadership? Yeah, very good question also, Anna. This is, I started right into the topic about the normal leadership. We are discussing here just the terms leading, leadership, etc. Later on, we go into the topic of what is systemic, and then we're combining those two into one topic. So to give you a short answer, systemic means that we are having a holistic approach. We are seeing one person, one organization, one team, depends on the situation, but also seeing the bird for the big picture, all of them, and we are considering all of these points to one. That means if I change here a little bit on the system, everything will be changed, and that helps us in the approach to understand that we are not only a single individual, we are also one minor thing in a whole system. So for example, if a colleague of you is overworked and has some problem, if the leader just sees that one person is overworked and doesn't see that it's concerning the whole team, it could be the case that it will be fail. And therefore, it's critical that you understand that the systemic approach will see that all of these components are brought together. And later on, I explaining all of these systemic attitude and approach a little bit more in detail, and I hope this will answer your question, Anna. Annika Holm, hello and hi. Do we still need leaders or AI in different fields to lead all the world? Very good question. I love the AI topic because it's so omnipresent today, and this will affect all of us. So if I understand you right, Annika, do we still need leaders or AI in different fields to lead all the world? So we have to understand that AI has an impact on our daily business. Nevertheless, if we are a master craftsman for electrical inputs, if we are in a human resource, if we work as an accountant, as a sports athlete, AI will affect us. It will sustain us, will give us a lot of, I would say, more freedom to work on different concepts. Of course, there will be certain aspects in a department, in an organization, where jobs will be replaced. But this is another topic. But AI will help also in the certain fields of leadership to understand certain situations. But in my opinion, and I'm very IT enthusiastic and also dig with I liked and love to code by myself and also do it with some microcontrollers, so machine learning and all of this stuff I do also on a daily basis. And therefore, in my opinion, all of this AI is helping us. And of course, when you're not understanding it, it will be threaten you maybe. But what it can't do now, maybe later on, will be all of the creativity work. They can impose that they are creative because they are fetching all of the internet and then combining certain things. But to be really creative is something what we only can do as a human being. We can be creative when it comes to problem solving, when it comes to conflicts, to parties, to organizations, to persons. And this is what it makes a differentiation about human and robots AI. And I'm currently reading from an AI expert, from a woman who is working all around the world, which try to explain if the emotional intelligence will be taking over from AI. And this person works on major tech companies and will answer this question with asking question if this will be solved and can be solved. And as far as she knows, is certain aspects from emotional intelligence not really covering by an AI, because an AI can only be as good as the data is provided. And then they could, with statistical output, can perform here maybe some new aspects, but new aspects from the given data. We as a human being can create new ideas. We can create creative outputs. And this is a field what I think is also very necessary when it comes to leadership, to systemic leadership, that we use AI in our daily life to help us to approach certain situation. I would like to give you a short example, and then we go further on to this topic, because you can see I really like this topic, how AI will give us here a new insight. For example, you have a problem, you're in a leadership position, you have a problem where the junior manager comes to you and says that every time he wants to delegate the tasks in a team meeting, he got a lot of discussion ongoing. Why certain people have to do this or that? And then you as a systemic leader now want to gather more information, because you not can judge it by one certain specific occasion. And therefore you're asking a lot of questions to gathering information. And with this information, you try to help them and not giving a direction, because this is what the systemic approach does. And now with AI, you can type in, for example, ChatGPT, BART, etc., those facts and gathering information, and try with the power of AI getting new insights. So for example, what can I do with a communication problem, this and that? And then the AI will give you here new insights. You as a human can now comprehend this output and can see, okay, this is something new. I really haven't thought about it. So this helps you to gathering new insights, new aspects of of certain fields. It helps you to use Google a little bit more. This is what I would say is that AI helps us in the way we work nowadays. So back to topic. I hope, Annika, this was really the question what you asked. If not, just ask again. I will happy to answer it. So what do we mean by a leadership? I think we discussed here a little bit of this topic. Now I would like to jump into what is the difference between leadership and management. And when you think about your company, maybe these two terms will be merged together, maybe they are splitted, and the difference is in my case very important to differentiate, because it means, and we are in the academic research now, completely different aspects. And therefore a leadership position has goals in it. That means the goal is by the end of 2023 we have to have our team size reduced by 2 people, or we have to gather new salespersons and 1 IT person. Also sell goals. For example, when you have to do a restructure, and I'm also involved in a lot of organizational behavior project. That means there are big groups coming together in an organization, and there have to be something changed. For example, in the COVID area, we have to reduce and restructure nearly everything, from home work and home office to presence, etc. Coming back from home office to the office time, it's also a restructure. Not just sending out an email. Now we have to go back to the home to the office because I want so. Selling goals is also meaning that don't be fishy and don't be selling just the output because you want it. Let them know why it's good for the company and for the team, and give the background reasons so that they can also understand what you have to do and do what you want to do. And by selling goals, one important point, maybe you are selling a goal, and that means, for example, by the end of this year we have to make a revenue by plus 5%, and you see, okay, now on June we are over exceeding, or we are not getting this goal. We haven't got any chance to getting this goal. As a leader, it's completely okay that we are changing our goals or mind when there is really background data to it. Not because today is Monday and I don't like this goal anymore and therefore we have to change it. But when I have the data and say to my team, okay, the first half year wasn't as we planned altogether, and therefore we have to adapt to the situation, and also we have to adapt to the goals. And so on, the team can understand why we do it in a way that they can comprehend it and can also get the inside view. We have to take risks as a leader. Risk means we're going an uncertain path, what we don't know, what can we expect. And this means more working hours, taking risks in a budget, that we invest in something and don't know the outcome. And taking risks is also meant that you have the responsibility for something and accountability for something. And this is what we don't like so often. And when you think about a big hierarchy, everyone getting away from responsibility because they don't want to be blamed when something gets wrong. And therefore taking risks, communicating often that is maybe a risk. For example, if you want to enter a new market, because it could lead to a maximization of your revenue, but this is a completely other culture. This is in risk. Should we do it? Should we not do it? Implementing a new ERP system because it helps us to keep track of all of our sales, etc., is a risk. Inspire people. By inspiring, I mean that you as a leader have to be 100% behind each decision. If the CEO says that we have to change here this and that, and you are responsible now to implement it, Of course, you can't be every time 100% to each of the changes. But what you can do is you can communicate it often. You can say, okay, we have now we have to adapt to the situation. I'm also not a fan of this new situation, but I see the future and what our CEO means, the vision about it. It will be a hard goal, but we can do it in the way. Let's collect all the meanings and ideas from now so that we can work on this goal. And inspire means be here really active when it comes to changes, etc. Trust is also a point. Trust means you have to be a lot of integrity and loyalty. And what does it mean to be integrity? It means that everyone can count on you. When you say you can do this holiday, you can make in the next months the online course for pitching sales, etc., then you have to stand for your word. And also trust means when someone comes with a problem to you, and for example, a teammate says they have nearly a conflict with another teammate, then you have to deal with this problem in a way that each person has a good outcome. And that doesn't mean that you punish the second one because you like the first one. This means work, listen to everyone, and then finding the best output. Trust means holding your word. And of course, foster ideas, because in a big company, the people always come to you with new ideas and you have to filter them. Management on the other side is completely different in the aspect of the daily routines. We have tasks, we have delegating tasks, we're minimizing risks because we are just responsible for the daily business and to keep going and pushing to the limits, but we are not the kind of person who tries to getting new ideas in, etc. Follow the rules and assign tasks. A typical entry position in management is a junior management position where you, of course, be responsible for the factual knowledge and business area for 80% or 90%, and 10% of your working time you're dealing with the team, for example, when they go on holiday, if they are ill, etc., all of this work schedule, etc. But the main time you're focusing on your business area. In a leadership position, of course, you have to understand what you do, but often you can change it completely in the industry. For example, when you're in an IT industry and you were a department manager, for example, then you can also go to a mobile phone sector, internet company. You can go to a different sector industry, for example, in the aviation sector, because you're working with people. And of course, the industry works in a different way, but people are people, and you're working with people to mostly of your time. So, next point, next input. Do you have any questions? And in the meantime, I will see and get the next video about what is the difference between leadership and management. Anna, I showed my question because of my smartphone typing. Hope this is okay. Anna, this is completely okay. Don't mind. What are the key principles of systemic leadership? Also a very good question. Key principles, I would say we are here on one of the main charts, I would say, are the key principles. Working with people, be really reliable, integrity and loyalty, and that people can trust you. All of the other points will come in your daily basis. But to be trusted and inspire people and sell goals, these are things which should be trained. And keep in mind, when you say principles of systemic leadership, when you go and want to train, for example, soccer, football, tennis, etc., you always have someone who's teaching you all this stuff. In my opinion, I like karate, for example, and I do it for many years. And I always have someone who is teaching me that in a group. I can't, or maybe I can teach myself, but it has the same effect than someone is teaching it as. And what we don't do in our business environment is that we are getting taught in leadership things. Leadership is not something what I can educate. Like in my case, I have a master's in this certain area and then I'm a leader. This is an ongoing process on daily basis, reflecting, working, reading, also attending seminars. So when someone says, for example, that they have experienced 15 years in a company and be 10 years a senior manager, this doesn't say that the person has 10 years of really working experience in that way. It just tells you that the person did something 10 years, but maybe he did 10 years exactly the same thing. If someone is in a startup, for example, and was responsible 2 years for the whole IT environment, then you can be sure this was a tough time. In other cases, when you're 10 years in an, for example, in a car manufacturer, for example, in BMW, etc., of course they're very dynamic, but it's a big concern. It's a big company, and here the processes are really changing slowly, and therefore, working experience doesn't mean that you have really 10 years of working experience. You always have to ask yourself, what was the daily business, how they approached certain things, and these are the principles in my case, what certain things are made. So coming back to your question, Anna, what are the key principles of systemic leadership? Key principles are made from each person, from each, I would say, from each leader by itself. And the main core competences are working with people. Be good in communication, be very open, and like to work in a leadership position. For example, other question in this, according to this question, was one time someone asked me, they are really introverted. Can they be a leader? And I also was responsible for the human resource processes in a nonprofit organization and did round about over 200 interviews. And I asked myself often this question: if someone is really introverted, can they be a good leader? And there is no yes and no answer for this question, but you have always to rethink and recapitulate, is this person on the right position when they are really introverted? Because you have to be very active in your communication style. You have to go actively into a discussion, in a dispute, in a conflict. And by saying that, this is completely the opposite of an introverted person. An introverted person could have many faces. That means you can be introverted when it comes to gathering together with some colleagues, for example. But in your leadership position, you be very extroverted because you can change the setting. You're responsible. You'll be very open. And I made also a few tests in this case. I'm also more in the introverted section, but when it comes to my profession, it's more extroverted. So there is no one scheme for each person. But in a general speaking, you have to ask here the proper question if the person is really in the right place. Because often people think they have to make a career, they have to make here a management or leadership position, but they really don't want it from their own position out. They just want to gathering the fame, the money, etc. So always think about what is the real meaning behind the aspiration to be a leader. And this is what I think is also one of the principles of systemic leadership. Is the person on the right position? I hope, Anna, this answers your question. And now, coming back to a short clip, before we're ending this first session. And this clip is all about what's the difference between leadership and management. So let me paste here the URL and let's go.
There are two things that I think that great leaders need to have: empathy and perspective. And I think these things are very often forgotten. Leaders are so often so concerned about their status or their position in an organization, they actually forget their real job. And the real job of a leader is not about being in charge, it's about taking care of those in our charge. And I don't think people realize this, and I don't think people train for this. When we're junior, our only responsibility is to be good at our jobs. That's all we really have to do. And some people actually go get advanced educations so that they can be really good at their jobs, accountants or whatever, right? And you show up and you work hard, and the company will give us tons and tons of training how to do our jobs. They'll show us how to use the software, they'll send us away for a few days to get trained in whatever it is that we're doing for the company. And then they expect us to go be good at our jobs. And that's what we do. We work very hard. And if you're good at your job, they'll promote you. And at some point, you'll get promoted to a position where we're now responsible for the people who do the job we used to do, but nobody shows us how to do that. And that's why we get managers and not